So if she's on a team,
they're watching.
The jersey sales. Do you think you can sell more jerseys without her or with her? Obviously, it's going to be with her.
Absolutely.
USA jersey with her name on it is going to sell.
You may be wondering why we are bringing up Caitlin Clark's Olympic snub, especially since it occurred months ago. But she revisited the subject in her most recent Time magazine interview, which is precisely why we need to discuss it. In the next few minutes, we will uncover the shocking truth behind her Olympic snub and reveal the true reason she was left off the team. Trust me, it's not what you were expecting.
Yeah, like, she revealed all. Talked about everything.
As a rookie, Clark had been living up to the anticipation by averaging 19.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 8.4 assists per game, fulfilling her dream of competing in the Olympics.
That was a pretty good team.
That was what made that team so good, you two? Outside Clark again! Clark over Horston, hits a three!
Clark's shooting was incredible. She was draining shots from 30 feet out like it was nothing, leaving defenders perplexed. However, her game is more than just scoring points. A few days prior to the Olympics, she took the court against the Mystics with something to prove, and boy did she deliver 7 three-pointers. That's Olympic-level stuff right there. Her court vision is amazing. She's spotting teammates in gaps that most players miss, setting them up for easy baskets.
After the Washington Mystics game, where I think she hit 7 threes, and a Fever victory.
After a performance like that, you would think Clark would be guaranteed a spot on the Olympic team, right? Coaches and analysts were gushing about her abilities, so it seemed obvious. But this is where things start to get interesting. Immediately following the game, Clark was feeling fantastic. She picked up her phone and texted her agent, likely anticipating some fantastic news regarding her chances of winning the Olympics. The response, "I have to call you," changed everything. Can you imagine how Clark felt 1 minute, riding high after the game of her life, and the next, she's left wondering what's going on?
But, yeah, so Caitlin Clark genuinely thought until after that game that she had a chance of making the Olympic team.
To exacerbate the situation, her team was meant to be notified in advance and let her know, but instead the news was released the same day they informed her that she wouldn't be participating.
She also might have the worst agent ever. I'm not joking, Caitlin Clark, like, as far as basketball related stuff, non-basketball related stuff, the agent seems to be doing a decent job, but she seems to have the worst agent ever when it comes to basketball related stuff.
When a player is at the top of her game and receives excellent performance plaudits from experts, it simply doesn't stack up. Despite breaking numerous records, including as the most assists and the best rookie score, Clark's Olympic dreams took an unexpected turn, and you might be surprised to learn why.
Literally the last game before the Olympics, she broke the all-time assist record while scoring 24 points. A few games beforehand, I think she had 13 assists and 29 points against Washington, which was a ridiculous game. And she had 30 against Washington earlier in the year. And ironically, at this stage, at the time they announced they weren't going to pick her, she had multiple 30-point games. She had a couple of 8 or 9 assist games. And she was still not picked, obviously.
As previously mentioned, Clark was feeling very happy following her outstanding performance when USA basketball officials called her on the team bus. You would think that a call like that would be filled with congratulations, but something didn't feel right. The officials began by saying something like, "We think the world of how you play," but Clark wasn't buying it. She had heard the rumors and knew what was about to happen.
The news predictably was unpleasant. The Olympic roster was just about to leak and Clark wasn't on it. USA basketball officials hopped on a call with Clark. They were like, "Yeah, we haven't selected you. Obviously, we think the world of how you play, blah, blah, blah." She wasn't really listening. She knew she was good enough to be on the team.
Then it occurs. Can you believe that after that incredible performance and after smashing records left and right, Clark is not on the team? Her mind is racing as she tries to make sense of everything. Here's the worst part. Former basketball point guard Gilbert Arenas had this to say about the situation. Clark later disclosed that she was certain she would make the team up until that very moment. She believed she was a lock, and why wouldn't she? She simply gave a performance that had everyone talking, breaking the all-time assist record, sinking 30-foot shots like layups, and most importantly, drawing more attention to their game.
Right? You're saying millions of people will be mad if she doesn't play a lot? Well, that means 1 million people won't be viewing if she's not on the team. So if she's on a team,
they're watching.
The jersey sales. Do you think you can sell more jerseys without her or with her? Obviously, it's going to be with her.
Absolutely.
USA jersey with her name on it is going to sell.
So
What was the true reason for this snub? It turns out that the officials didn't want the circus that comes with Clark's popularity, so they had a problem with her fans. Can you believe that they're ejecting one of the best players in the game because they're afraid of a few more fans?
But the fact that it also leaked from the camp that the reason why Caitlin Clark didn't make the team was nothing to do with basketball. It was nothing to do with her not being at the camp that was on during the Final Four. It was nothing to do with all of these other things. It was like a lot of it was to do with the fact that they didn't want the circus around them, and that she wasn't going to play many minutes, and we didn't want her fans around. They literally said they didn't want her fans around, and they were like, "Oh, the circus might derail them."
But hold on, there's more to this tale. Recall how Team USA sent just one point guard to the Olympics, but she was hurt, leaving them without a reliable point guard because they were concerned about receiving more attention.
I mean, I don't think Caitlin Clark would have derailed the team. I think having no point guard derailed the team, and having Chelsea Gray limp up and down the floor for the entire Olympics, and then you were running Kelsey Plum as the backup point guard, Jewel Lloyd sometimes as the backup point guard.
What do you think was a major error on the part of USA basketball? Should Clark be wearing red, white, and blue? What will this choice affect for the USA's chances at the gold? Let's investigate more and find out. The USA's Olympic roster selections caused controversy, particularly in regards to Caitlin Clark, whose stated justifications for exclusion don't line up. Remember that circus? They said that they weren't at all concerned with Clark's style of play, but rather with the excitement she brought to the game. Can you believe that? It seems like they're scared of winning. This is where things get really interesting. Team USA only sent one point guard to the Olympics, and you would assume that since she is among the finest point guards in the world, they would have called up Clark, but they didn't.
And then you were running Kelsey Plum as the backup point guard, Jewel Lloyd sometimes as the backup point guard.
So why not?
Did you notice that they selected 5 players with similar styles and positions? Here are the players' names. It seems like they are gathering carbon clones rather than assembling a cohesive squad.
But I think the biggest problem was that they literally picked 5 first shooting guards. They picked 5 players that play the same position, and not only play the same position, have the same play style.
You may be asking how this choice affected Team USA's performance, and I can tell you that it wasn't good. Their defense struggled greatly because they lacked a quality point guard and had too many players in the same position.
They picked Sabrina Ionescu, they picked Kelsey Plum, they picked Jewel Lloyd, they picked Diana Taurasi, and they picked Kat Copper.
Let's examine the data. I'll give you a hint. How did their point guards perform? By the end of the Olympics, she was so awful that they couldn't even play Chelsea Gray, and all the while, Clark was watching TV at home, presumably considering how she could have changed everything.
Kalia Copper rode the freaking bench because they had too many people at the same position. She could at least play defense though. And then we saw in the Olympic final, and we literally had Chelsea Gray struggling to run up and down the floor. And then she would have that great game against the garbage Japan team.
The decision to leave Clark off the team was made, but the effects are only now becoming apparent. It concerns a team that may have ruined its own chances of winning. It concerns officials who are more interested in controlling the narrative than starting the best players. Recall that game against Belgium, which should have been an easy win but ended up being a nail-biter. Team USA barely won because they were missing a crucial component. A strong point guard, the kind of player who can control the pace, make smart passes, and hit those clutch shots when it counts most. Indeed, Clark brings precisely that to the table, but things get worse. Let's discuss the France game. The USA should have been miles ahead of the opposition, but they are barely clinging on by their fingers. That is survival, not supremacy. That is how close they got to going into overtime for the France game.
And she was so bad by the end of the Olympics, they could not play her. They couldn't even play her by the end of the Olympics. She was so bad.
You may be wondering, okay, but how bad could it really be? Well, let's look at the statistics. Remember Chelsea Gray? She was supposed to be the team's go-to player in that position, but by the end of the Olympics, she was practically glued to the bench. That's right, they couldn't even play her anymore because she was struggling so much. The worst part is that all of this was happening while Caitlin Clark was watching TV at home. Can you imagine how frustrated she must have felt watching the team struggle in the exact areas where she thrives?
By the way, this French team currently starting, they were starting at center guarding Aja, who did an unbelievable job on Aja in that game.
The question that everyone has is whether Clark could have made a difference. Let's examine the evidence. We're talking about a player who can make her teammates better just by being on the court, who can sink 30-foot shots like their layups, who breaks assist records for fun, and who sets up those plays, hits those long-range bombs, and energizes the team when they need it most. However, the real tragedy is that we'll never know for sure because some people chose to leave Clark off the team because they were more concerned about her popularity than her undeniable talent, and Team USA paid the price.
Started Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd. I know she didn't play that much in the end, but like she was starting at the start of it. She was their backup point guard to start the Olympics. It was a shit show. Like, how do you go to a tournament with, I'm not joking, you could argue 12 of the 30, like Satu wasn't in shape. You could argue the literal 12 best players in the tournament played for USA, and you won by a foot on the line in a game you probably shouldn't have won in the final.
What does this mean for the future? Well, one thing is certain. USA Basketball's decision-makers need to give a serious explanation because it appears that they made a mistake at the moment, and women's basketball may have lost out on seeing one of its biggest stars perform on the biggest stage of all.
To make my point, I believe the biggest woman star basketball player in the world, as far as eyes and far as dollars, would have been a big help to women's basketball.
The Olympic snub of Caitlin Clark has become a hot topic of conversation. The decision by USA Basketball to exclude her from the squad caused controversy and raised questions. Without a capable point guard, the team struggled and won very few games that they should have won, while Clark continued to set records and make unbelievable three-pointers.
I would have loved to see Caitlin Clark on this squad because I am a fan of women's basketball and I know what she does when she shows up, when the lights are on and the eyes of the world are there.
People are asking what the future holds for women's basketball because of this entire situation. Clark's talent is indisputable and she is raising awareness of the sport. The key question now is how USA Basketball will react. Will they alter their strategy or remain the same? With her star power, women's basketball may be on the cusp of something enormous. It's an exciting time for the sport, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it all. One thing is certain, though, she isn't going anywhere.
It's not like the men's where you've got really good teams that can beat you in any given game. That shouldn't happen in the women's, and it almost did. Like, it almost did to a France team who wasn't that good. Like, they barely beat a Julie Allemande-less Belgium team in the semi-final.
This whole